Well, that was a little smoother. I'm getting there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy Wednesday, midweek. We're already halfway through the month of January 2023. How you doing on your goals? How are things going? New Year's, God, Christmas was like 5 months ago. It feels like already. Mm. Well, listen, if you have a minute and can grab a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, and take a breather for a minute, I would love to spend the next 30 minutes or so with you. If you can't and you got to scroll on, good morning. Hope you have a great day. Uh, Coffee up. We'll chat later. But good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Savannah. How you doing, my dear? Um, you know, second day hair. I don't know what it is. I kind of curled it a little more today. I'm still trying to learn how to deal with these gray things that sort of stick out from the side of my head. But other than that, yeah, just I keep practicing, keep trying. New hairdo. Aloha, baby sister. How you doing this morning? Good to see you. Well, welcome everyone. Great to have you here. If you are joining live, do please pop it in the comments and say hello. Say good morning from where you are. I love to find out who's watching, it's funny to find out the people who do watch. They'll let you know. But sometimes you won't know here, right? So if this is your first time catching me live, you've never seen my broadcast before, good morning. Grab a mug. Let's sit. We're going to chat for a little bit. My name is Renee Harden, and by trade, I am an editor. I'm an editor. I'm a writer. I'm also an educator. I'm a writing coach. I love to help people learn more about their writing and sort of strategize on a way to put it together in a format where you can share it with others, right? Stirring your creativity and helping you share your stories. So, if you have been following me for a while, you know that I have a massive coffee cup collection, something that I've just acquired naturally over the last, do I have to say 30 years of my travels, experiences, and also people and friends. So, this mug I love because it says, you can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with a club. By the illustrious author Jack London. If you're familiar with his works, Call of the Wild, um, very outdoorsy kind of guy. You're going to be in the mountains and the snow, dealing with nature and all of those challenges and the things that it brings up out of you. So I love this quote. It's true because if you think you're going to get inspired by just, and sometimes it happens, but I don't know about you. Do you ever get inspiration for things in the weirdest places? Right? Like, good morning. Good morning. I love seeing the comments pop in. Good morning, Sherry. Coffee almost ready? Girlfriend, you know, when it's ready, pour your cup, sit down. Because I got some fun things I want to share with you today. Um, so how has your week been so far? I got to tell you, I love my Cowboys. Yes, I do. It was a great game. It was a tense game. Um, but it was great. Oh, coffee mugs. That's what we were talking about. So I was sharing this mug, but on the front of this mug, I love this because it has an antique typewriter. Oh, you guys, I want an antique typewriter. If I found one that I used to use when I worked back in the radio, back in like the late 80s, early 90s, believe me, I know it's going to be a antique typewriter. But here's something cool. So I don't know if you guys can see over here. Let me turn it. Let's see. Is it this way? Nope, this way. All right. Do you see that right there? Oh, look. Milo has come to join us. Hi, Miles. How's the assistant has to come in, right? Let us know he's here. So, guys, do you see this over here with my computer bag and my This is my tripod stand. All the accoutrement I use when I go live. But see this right here? Here, let me take this off of here. This is my grandmother's old typing stand. This, what you that she had in her library. It was actually her office / library, and this was the little table that she. What, Milo? Okay, I need to deal with you later. Why on the broadcasts? Don't you love it when the pets come in? This is my grandmother's antique typing table, and she used to have a Smith Corona antique typewriter on this stand. It's what? It's where I used to type my essays for school. It's where I watched my grandmother work for, as she was the president and international president of Epsilon Sigma Alpha sorority. The meetings she would have, the things that she would do at this table, the papers that I used to type for high school and college on this typing stand. And so having that here in my office reminds me of my roots that go way back into my love of writing. And my goal for you this morning is hopefully to stir your creativity and sort of help you find a place where you can begin letting your inspiration flow and watch your creativity prosper. So we are going through a book for the next 6 weeks. What I'm going to do here on these live broadcasts is I am going to be sharing with you Julia Cameron's book, Write for Life: Creative Tools for Every Writer. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I'm working on a story myself. I showed you my coffee mug, right? And I love what it says here. You notice it said mission statement: drink coffee, make up stuff. I mean, isn't that what we're doing pretty much every day in our jobs? We're sitting down at our desks with a cup of coffee and we got to make stuff happen. We have to make stuff happen. Whether you're in school working on projects and you have to complete papers or do projects or do presentations. If you are on a team and your manager is, pulling together resources from everybody in the department to make some changes or, cut some expenses or come up with creative ideas for campaigns. Whatever you do, you have to get up and make it happen. And you guys know how it feels some days where you just don't have it in you. It's just not there. It's just like blank, right? So if we're going to write and share our stories, how do we get started? It's a lot of times I talk to people and it's like they come close to the water and they kind of put their toe in with a question and then they run away. And it's not that difficult, guys, because you are writing every day. If you're posting on social media, if you are engaging in comments sections on Facebook or in Instagram, or if you're still on the dumpster fire that is Twitter, if you are blogging, if you're communicating in emails or in Slack, and you're doing anything to communicate with other people, you're making things happen. You're writing. It's just being done in a reactionary mode, right? So now I'm talking about being proactive, about initiating that. So we're going to go through Julia's book. And this week, the chapter that she starts with is called Priming the Pump, chapter 1. So what she does in this book, first of all, this book is about the size of like a workbook. And because it's a soft cover, it feels like a workbook. I love that because this is a book that you're going to tactily, is that the word I'm looking for? But in a tactile manner, you're going to get involved in doing the activity. So this is book you can definitely write in the margins. She leaves space. I'm a highlighting girl. So I go through and highlight. I don't know if you can see that. The sun's kind of bright this morning, but I go through and highlight my pages, right, with notes. Do you do that with some of the books that you read? Good morning, honey. I love it. My name, doppelganger. So if you are ever If you ever have a book like this, it's great because you can write notes. I've gone through here, put asterisks in the margins. I love that she leaves space in the margins. Of course, I just have a little asterisk because I'm kind of a neat freak like that, and I make notes. But I also highlight like crazy. So what she does in this chapter is she gives you the tools, and then there is a list in the back. Let me get to the page. So the first chapter is about 30 pages, but it's a really great start to the book. And so at the end of the book, she has what are called tasks, right? So you can, if you want to, you could screenshot that page if you wanted, or I could send it to you, but get the copy of the book. It's great. And so these are the tasks that I worked on this past week. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing what I'm doing in writing my own story, because what I'm working on are the stories behind all of my coffee bugs. And I have 185, pretty sure. In fact, I just put away, except I have one more in the kitchen, the Christmas mugs. Had to box those up. I only get those out and use them at Christmas time because they're Christmas mugs. So I had to pack those up and put them away. So I think probably in the month of February, I know this sounds weird, but I'm going to work on my Christmas mug stories and my British, all of my mugs that are related to Great Britain. So lots of stories behind all of that, especially given with Prince Harry's book dropping. So I've got a lot of stories to write, and I'm working through my own draft manuscript because I have a goal that I would like to publish my book this year. That's a goal I've set for myself. And so I've got to put this to task and move on it. So I love that Julia's book has tasks in the back after each chapter that you have to act on if you're going to be writing. So this week in priming the pump. And guys, I don't know if you knew this, but back in the old days, and not just the days that I lived in, but like even older than that. We're talking 150, 200 years ago, when people had water pumps that were outside and they pumped water right up out of wells to take it into the houses. We have the beauty of turning on a tap and having water. But the process of getting water up out of the ground and into someone's home was a little more daunting. And there was a process called priming the pump. And it's a saying that dates back to the 1800s. And this was a process because if water pumps are inactive for a while, so say think of our water pipes that we have in the wintertime. If the water has been turned off for any reason, when you turn those pipes on, there's like a jolt and air pressure that has to be released and for the water to flow back again. And in the old days, they would use water, have to pour it into the pump so that the pump got the action of, the water being there to have it work and pull the water up out of the ground and start flowing again. You had to prime the pump to get it flowing. Well, we have to do that with our writing, right? People who say, well, I want to write a book, and then they sit down at their desk and don't understand why the words don't come. Anything forced is usually born premature. And we know how delicate and fragile premature babies are. You don't want your first work to be thrown out there haphazardly, right? We want to truly write our best. And so we have to dedicate time to our writing, just like we would our jobs or anything else. We make time in our schedule. So what I love that Julia talked about, and she starts her book off, there are several basic tools that serve as a bedrock for productive writing. With these tools in place, it is possible to set the stage for longevity as a writer. So she's doing this. She says, I love to write. I'm 73 years old and I have been writing full time since I was 18. That's 55 years, a long running romance. I love that. So she has the experience and she's written and published works in a variety of genres. So, what I love is something that she introduced in her book that she actually introduced in her program, Artist's Way, many years ago. Um, you hold on. Oops, sorry. You love to hear that I'm going to publish this year. Kalani, I mean, and I'm glad she popped in and said that because you guys, after Prince Harry's book dropped and he pulled back the curtain and, exposed a lot of personal things about his family, you guys, tell me a family you don't know or that that isn't janked up somehow. I could tell you stories about my family, you know. Do I tell those stories about my family? What purpose does that serve? Because you have to realize all of those stories are a part of my story and who I am today. All of your stories are a part of who you are. And when you look back over them, hopefully you learn and you improve. And so I'm even realizing that, I'm an editor by trade. I help people, for God's sakes, I help them work on publishing their books. Where's mine? Why, but I have to realize, wait a minute, I have to block time on my calendar and make time for me to publish my own work. I'm helping other people do it. I want to help you do it, but I'm working through it myself. And so I hope that by going through it and sharing that with you here, that it'll inspire you to do yours. And we can work together and I can help you walk along the way. So, one of the things that she introduces in this book is something she has been doing, for years. It's called morning pages. So if you see me post pictures about, have you done your morning pages? Are you doing your morning pages? I'm going to be showing you pictures of my morning pages. But morning pages is an interesting concept because in my exercise this week, I learned something interesting. So, right, Kalani and I could collaborate and tell some stories, y'all. You don't even know. Um, so here's a fun story. It's just a fun fact, a fun factoid, if you will. Ooh, I almost slipped and said a bad word. Kalani's mom was my age when I met her, and I was 19. Right? So morning pages. So here's what Julia Cameron says that morning pages are as defined. Morning pages are 3 daily pages of longhand morning writing that is strictly stream of consciousness. So do we know what stream of consciousness is? Right? It's when how many of you get up in the morning and your brain is like 90 to nothing? My husband's is all the time. Mine was definitely this morning. Do you have some mornings where you wake up and it's like you open your eyes and the film starts running? It's just, it's just, and already you haven't even peed yet and you're already stressed. Has that happened to you? Good morning, Carol. How are you? Good to see you. Guys, I mean, come on. You know what I'm talking about, right? Morning pages. So first of all, and I'm having these conversations with Julia in my head, so bear with me. So when she did, I was like, "You want me to do what in the morning?" It's just she said the pages clear my head and prioritize my day. Well, okay. So I read that sentence and I think I knew what my job was. So guys, I got a notebook. How many of you have these? Because she says write pages, but she doesn't say sit down and type them. She says write them. Hand long. So here's something I learned this past week because because again, I told you I was going to be transparent with y'all and tell you, I have been doing my morning pages. Do you know how long it's been since I've sat down and written in longhand handwriting? How many of you think about it? I want you to take a moment. I want you to think about the last time you sat down and actually wrote things out like that. Now, I know my daughter does because she's in college and she's taking notes. And she's one of the few people who's doing that. Now, she's back at school at, you know, 28 years old. So she has a different perspective than a student who had just come out of high school. And she said, Mom, I'm like one of the few people that takes lengthy notes. And she has great notes that she can then refer to. And so, but how many of you have actually think about the last time you sat and wrote things out by hand and not just like, paid January 17th, 2023 or invoice number for the confirmation number, not that. I'm talking writing, writing your thoughts. Studies have shown that the process of getting your thoughts out and writing them by hand, the tactile movement of your hand and your brain and your sight working simultaneously stimulates the brain, stimulates the brain. So I've been writing. Now, here's one thing I noticed. I made a lot of mistakes. Now, guys, I love my handwriting. I love my handwriting. It's curly. I used to sit, as a girl, remember when we would write, practice our autograph, maybe write our last name different with like a boy crush we had in class, right? All of those things we used to do. And the movement, the artistic movement of writing and the tactile movement and what it does for the brain when you're processing information. So I noticed a couple things. There's one error of, the letters I meant to go write, and I wrote the next one. And I said, I like my handwriting. Here's some of I'm going to share some of my morning pages. I like my handwriting. Writing by hand makes me consciously slow down and think about each letter, each shape, each word. Is it a lost art? Not if I keep at it. And if I'm going to encourage others to write, I need to do it myself. This is the year I shared my story. All those mugs, all the stories, the places I've been, the people I've met, and the gifts of knowledge. Some good, some not so good. All parts of who I am. Right? So that was just something that I wrote that day, that morning. So what I'm trying to do now, Julia recommends that when you get up in the morning, the first thing you do, and she even has her coffee made. She likes it iced. So she makes it the night before and puts the pot in the refrigerator. And she gets up in the morning and she walks to the refrigerator, gets her coffee pot out, pours her an iced coffee, and goes to one of her writing stations and sits down and does her morning pages. She's been doing this for years. And she said, this is the way to get yourself unlocked and opened up so that your creativity will flow, regardless of what you do. If you're a screenwriter, musician, whatever, truly, if you want to tap into your creativity, intentionally tap into your creativity, this is what you have to do. So I've been dealing with some stuff, some physical things that have made my mornings a little difficult. I don't know if I, pulled a muscle, my IT band in my leg. I don't know if I'm dealing with hip issues because of my joints. So I'm seeing a lot of doctors to deal with that. So this week's been a little difficult because I've had physical pain where getting up out of the bed was difficult. So I had one morning where I did more morning pages in bed. Well, not like in physical bed, but like I was on the couch because I spent the entire day on the couch because I was in pain. But I went to my pages. So what I recommend to you is if morning pages doesn't work, if you have a job that you have to be at and you can't do that first thing in the morning, or you're trying to get littles out the door to school, I call them morning pages, and I encourage you to try to carve out time for yourself to do morning pages. So now I didn't realize because I remember from The Artist's Way about morning pages. So she said 3 longhand pages, and specifically later in the book, she said, these are 3 pages of 8.5 by 11 size paper. That's a lot of writing. So what I did is I did 3 pages in my notebook. 3 pages of my notebook. And I've been able to dedicate myself to that because 3 pages of a 8.5 by 11 paper, wow. Even I realize that's a pretty daunting task for me to discipline myself to do it every day. So I'm starting with my notebook and doing 3 pages a day. And I'm dedicating myself to doing that. I want to shift to be able to do that, and I have to make some adjustments in my calendar so that I can do that because it's going to require me getting up even earlier and dedicating. I would like to dedicate 7 to 8 a.m. as my morning pages time. That's not always possible every morning, but I'm working towards it. So morning pages. She said, if the pages are meditation, they are also a potent form of prayer. Julia is a faith person also, but she lives it very practically. She's written some great books that are faith related, but she talks about how doing this centers you and grounds you. She says, although we tend to think of writing in secular terms, it is actually a spiritual path. We can consciously invite spiritual guidance. A simple prayer is relevant. Okay, God, you take care of the quality. You take care of the quality. I'll take care of the quantity. I love that. God, you take care of the quality. I'll take care of the quantity. To me, imagine a holy collaboration. It happens with you every day. The inspiration, the creativity is all around you, and it's right here waiting for you to tap into it. So she said, no longer aimed at being impressive and brilliant, it aims to be instead to be forthright. I came to believe that creator was another word for artist, and I trusted the great artist. Writing morning pages is like sending a telegram to the heavens. We give our precise coordinates here and how I am. And the universe in response acts on our behalf. Although we may not call it that, we have sent up a prayer. Implicit in each day's pages is the request, please help me. And the universe does, right? Seek and you will find. So here's something I shared in my morning pages, and I noticed that it opened up I used to do this all the time when I was writing. It came out in broken poetry, right? That I would somehow formulate and craft a little better. But my thoughts would come out in these stanzas, if you will. And so I caught myself 2 days ago when I was writing my morning pages that I had a section where I just did that. See, I even dropped a line in my writing and I wrote it like that. So it looked like a stanza of poetry. Because what this does is also takes off the limits of you thinking you have to write a particular way when you're doing your morning pages. Morning pages is strictly for creativity. Morning pages is not meant to be seen by anyone but you. And if you want to use morning pages in something, like I'm using some of my sections this morning to help encourage you, um, to show you what my morning pages has opened up for me. So this was a morning 2 days ago. What was that? Um, it was Monday, right? And I just spent all day Sunday on the couch hurting. Today I'm doing okay. My leg and my hip and all the way down to my ankle. I don't know if it's sciatica, right? So if you guys have ever dealt with that, just sharp shooting pain that will go down your leg, right? So here's what I wrote, guys, and I even started with ugh. It's okay. Morning pages, allowing those thoughts to come out, right? So I said, here's what I wrote. This week has been rough dealing with my leg and hip hurting. And good grief, my handwriting needs work. I need to slow down and think about the letters and the words on the page. My mind moves faster and my fingers want to rush, seeing the keyboard strokes instead of the artful process of writing by hand. Am I losing the ability to craft written words? Oh, and here's where I broke into poetry. Oh, the stylistic strokes, the legible letters, our unique movement on a blank page. Can I make it for 2 more pages or will I tire out? I tired out. I was hurting so bad, but I wrote that little bit. But when I go back and realize that even when I was hurting and not feeling good, I managed to get those thoughts out on paper. I managed to get it out. And now I can go back and look at it and realize, wow, I can actually use that. What if I wanted to write a poem about handwriting? I already have kind of a stanza, right? Oh, the stylistic strokes, the legible letters, our unique movement on a blank page. I don't know, guys. It's a bit of creativity, but that's what morning pages are about. That's what you can do to prime your creativity pump. So she goes on to talk about artist dates. So I mentioned this in my earlier live that I did. Artist dates. These are things that you do that are fun. So artist dates. Let me get back here. Artist dates. Where does she? Oh, artist dates. Trying to see here. Okay, here it is. So morning pages, here's where she gets really specific, and it's under the heading of the daily quota. So she said morning pages are 3 pages of longhand writing on 8.5 by 11 inches of paper. The first page and a half comes easily. The second page and a half are more difficult, but contain pay dirt. Writing pages daily yields results. And then she says, now I want to mention another equally valid regime, a daily quota of writing on your project. Guys, I'm taking myself through this and finding the places where I need to step it up, where I need to focus and really do this. So she says to do that every day. So artist dates. What are artist dates? Not like dates of, major artists like the Impressionists or anything, not that. Artist dates is a solo festive expedition to do something fun, something that enchants or interests you. One artist date weekly is sufficient. Artist dates. This is getting out and going to do something fun, just something like intentionally putting it on the calendar and going to do something fun. How many of you make sure you do something fun once a week? Once a week. Do you go do something fun? So here's what I did. And I love this. However, because my leg was bothering me, it limited my amount on my artist date. But we have another one tonight that we're going on. But last week, I went to my favorite mall. I went to my favorite mall and I didn't buy anything. I take it back. I bought a coffee so that I could walk around. But I went look shopping. I love doing that. Because guys, all right, let me just tell you, what are we? January the 18th? Bikinis are out. I mean, they had Christmas torn down so fast and it was Valentine's and bikinis. Whew, because spring break, and summer. It's just, we're not even like halfway through the first month of January. I had all kinds of ideas, right? I just was, and people watching, you can get some great character inspiration by people watching. Maybe you take yourself to a restaurant and go sit down and order coffee and a salad. Maybe you go get some donuts. Maybe you go to the park and you take a nice long walk. Julia also recommends walks, communing with nature and taking your notebook with you, not just your phone, your notebook. Sit down along the way and write, because that's ways that so it's priming the pump for your writing isn't always just sitting down and writing, right? So she said, artist dates refills your inner well. You have used images and ideas by writing, right? It's how many memes are we going to save on our phone from Facebook or Instagram? How much social media can we really do? And how many of you, after doing a lot of social media at the end of the day, you feel drained trying to keep up with it all, right? So artist dates, you replace images and ideas by going on artist dates. As a rule, one weekly is sufficient, but if you feel your writing becoming more difficult and thin, then a second weekly date is the remedy. Guys, if you have a busy week, and I get it, but how important is this to you? And more importantly, how important is your creativity health? We talk about mental health. I believe that mental health is tied directly to our creativity health. And when we're not being creative and doing those things to help prime our pump and stimulate our creativity, I think that's when our mental health starts to break down, right? We can't go all the time and not refill our tank. So, artist dates. So tonight we are going to the Mavericks basketball game. You guys know how all of a sudden here in the last 2 years I have really become a basketball fan. And I love going to watch the games live. There's something about watching them live. I've learned to identify fouls and plays. Guys, what has happened to me? I'm sportsing in a way I've never sportsed before, and I love it, right? So, creativity. So, if you don't make time and you say, well, I got, but I just can't, and I've got a lot of going on, and listen, I am seeing a neurologist on Monday, and I may have to have hip surgery. I may have to, what if I have a procedure done where I have to sit for 6 to 8 weeks to heal? You know, I'm going to really have some time to get some writing done. I get it. We have challenges. One of the later chapters in our book that we're going to be talking about is resisting the resistance, right? What do you do? Guys, obstacles are going to come up every day. But as my mentor, Jon Acuff, is talking about, you've got to work on your goals. How bad do you want to accomplish your goals? I love listening to Jon Acuff because he breaks down so simply how to accomplish our goals and go after them. But we've got to be dedicated and disciplined enough to do them. So that's what we're going to be doing. So again, guys, this is chapter 1. Chapter 1 really dealt with priming the pump, how we can get ourselves back on track. She talks about walking for creative health. My walk primes the pump, putting one foot in front of the other, a step at a time. I will pray for guidance. I will ask for the inspiration to write about what needs to be written. Do you have littles? Do you have kids that you're having to deal with that are pulling on you all the time? I get it. I understand. Go take them for a walk. Go walk in your neighborhood. Go to the mall and walk around. Walk somewhere. Don't just walk around in your house. Go for a walk. Encourage your children to, talk to them about what they see, how they feel about the day. You'll get story ideas. I promise you. She talks about this author, Brenda Ueland, published a book, If You Want to Write. It details the care and maintenance of the writer as a creative artist, right? It is shrewd, personal, and pragmatic. And she advocates walking, believing as I do that inspiration comes to a body in motion. Let me repeat that. Inspiration comes to a body in motion. Guys, I write. I work with writing all the time. I sit at my desk, but I can't sit here all the time. And I can't sit here because this workstation right here, I realized she talks about writing stations also in this chapter. This writing station here that I'm talking to you from, that I'm speaking to you from, this is my workstation. So when I'm here, I am producing things that help my clients, that help my followers, listeners on social media, that help, people who message me or want to talk to me or ask questions. This is my workstation right here. So if I want to be creative, this is not where I do my writing my morning pages. I'll be sharing some photos with you this week about where I do my writing. And Julia recommends having different places to write because, again, you are the one tasked with protecting your inner artist. Our inner writer is our inner youngster. Think about who you were as a child and what you loved to do and the things you loved. As we write, we have two separate and distinct personas, our inner writer and our inner adult. It's our inner adult self which makes the commitment and summons the discipline to write morning pages. Pages gives us a safety net, and with our pages in place, our writer finds resiliency. Our writer self chooses for our writer safe companions, those with generosity enough to applaud our work. Your adult self caters to your inner youngster, right? I love that because there's two of us distinctly in there. There's the one that's disciplined and task oriented and getting stuff done and kicking butt and taking names. Then there's the playful, creative other one that just wants to sit and play Barbies and have tea and play kitchen or build with tools or blocks or paint or color, right? That's where that creative side comes in. You feel that way with drawing or creative projects too. It's so good to change up your environment. Yes, and you'll find that by changing your environment, it also changes the focus of your inspiration. So, morning pages. A room of one's own introduces privacy. Morning pages allows you to write about things that you really don't want to share with people. I shared the things that I did with you because I knew they would help you gain a little insight into what I'm personally walking through with mine to hopefully encourage you to write yours. So she talks about writing stations. Think about places in your house, your yard, or maybe even favorite places you like to go. Is there a coffee shop you like to go to? I have places, like I said, at the mall. I love going there and getting creativity bursts. I'll go there and get a coffee and walk around and then find a place where I want to sit and I just watch people. And yes, I make notes on my phone. But now I'm going to be taking my notebook with me and I'm going to be writing down some ideas, right? Jon Acuff talks about capturing those ideas and dating them and putting in a notebook. He does that all the time. He's constantly putting ideas down. So that's an artist date, and that can be a writing station at the same time. So morning pages, artist dates, going on great walks. Even if the weather outside is crappy, go to the gym and walk on a treadmill. Maybe you have a way to do that in your house or maybe in your yard, maybe your neighborhood, right? Get out and be creative by walking. And then having some writing stations. Super important. Where are your creative writing stations? I might just slide my chair over there and set up a little writing station at my grandmother's antique typing stand to remember my roots of writing and creativity when I was young and have that be a little writing station. You never know. So, guys, grab a copy of this book, read that first chapter, kind of go through the tasks. And then what we're going to be talking about next week is beginning where you are. Chapter 2 is going to be all about beginning where you are. Maybe you're starting fresh as a new writer and you just want to know how to get this started. I've gone through chapter 1 a little bit and given you the highlights of what I've learned from this first chapter of Write for Life by Julia Cameron. I hope you'll join me next week for chapter 2. If you do get a copy of the book and you're walking through this with me, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on how you did with this first chapter and this first week. How'd you do with morning pages? Did you go on an artist date? I want to encourage you to go on an artist date this week. Do something fun and take your notebook with you and see what happens. It might be something even as weird and random as like you've got to haul stuff off to the dump. Take your notebook with you in your car. Start taking your notebook with you everywhere you go and keep it close. Keep it close and write those ideas down. Sure, you can store them here and put them on the cloud. Yes, you can do that. I understand that. write it with your hand. Use that beautiful artistic craft of writing. Capture some of those ideas and thoughts. And then we're going to talk about beginning where we are. I have pieces of my stories written that I've got to organize and put some semblance to, but I have some. That's where I'm going to be starting. Maybe you worked with NaNoWriMo this past November and you have a manuscript that you've already written and you kind of want to work on crafting and polishing that a little better. Or maybe you're brand new and you're just getting started in this whole concept of morning pages, just rocked your world. I get it. Begin where you are. So we're going to talk next week about that. Chapter 2 of Write for Life by Julia Cameron. Guys, grab a copy of the book. I'm encouraged. I want to encourage you. Your inner writer is just waiting to have a play date so that it can show you some really fun and creative things. I hope you'll share yours with me. Thanks for letting me share this with you. I hope you'll join me back here next week, Wednesday mornings, right here, 8 o'clock a.m. Central Time, where we're going to really learn to write for life. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great morning. Bless someone today by sharing your awesomeness. You never know the difference you're going to make. You just made a difference being right here with me this morning. I hope this has put a smile on your face. Get out there and have a fantastic day. I'll see you next week.